Girl gave food to younger kids instead of eating. Hours later, 500 bikers arrived. The hunger hit her like a wave that pressed against her ribs and echoed through her hollow stomach, but what hurt even more was the sight in front of her. 3 younger children standing, barefoot, near the corner of the dusty street, staring at the small packet of food in her hands as if it were the entire world. The sun was dipping low, the heat still clinging to the broken roofs and cracked walls around them, and the city moved on as though nobody noticed how quietly some people struggled just to make it to the next meal. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the battle inside her. Keep the food for herself or give it away to those whose eyes carried a deeper hunger than she had ever known. In that moment, with her heart racing and the smell of bread teasing her senses, she made a decision that would ripple far beyond this street, beyond this day, beyond anything she could imagine. If you believe kindness still matters, if you believe second chances can change lives, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us what humanity can look like when we choose compassion. She handed the food to the children and watched as they devoured it with gratitude and relief that needed no words. The girl, whose name was Aisha, walked away quietly, pressing a hand to her empty stomach and trying to ignore the dizziness rising in her head. She had lost her parents 2 years earlier in an accident that shattered everything she knew, and since then, she had been living with an elderly aunt who could barely afford rent, let alone provide extra food. Every day was survival. Every day meant choosing between school or work, between hunger or hope. Today she had earned a small meal by helping at a roadside stall, and she had promised herself she would finally eat something decent. But there, on that street, with dusk approaching and the world closing, she couldn't turn away from those children. She walked slowly, feeling weaker with each step, yet strangely lighter, as if part of the burden she carried had dissolved into something softer. Night settled over the town like a heavy blanket. The air grew cooler, but inside Aisha's tiny home, the air felt heavy with silence and worry. Her aunt was asleep, exhausted after cleaning houses all day, and there was nothing left in the kitchen except hope. Aisha lay on the thin mattress, listening to the sounds outside, distant engines, stray dogs barking, someone laughing far away, and she wondered if kindness truly came back to you or if it simply disappeared into the world, unnoticed and unrewarded. Her stomach twisted painfully, yet there was a quiet sense of peace hidden somewhere beneath the discomfort, a feeling that she had done the right thing, even though it cost her more than she could afford. Hours later, when the clock seemed frozen in darkness, a low rumble began to rise from the distant road. At first it sounded like thunder approaching from the horizon, the ground faintly vibrating beneath the cracked pavement. The noise grew louder, deeper, multiplying until it filled the street with an echoing roar. Lights appeared, slicing through the night like streams of fire. Neighbors peeked from doors and windows, fear and curiosity mixing together. Aisha, startled, stepped outside barefoot, clutching her shawl around her shoulders, unable to understand what was happening. And then she saw them. Dozens, then hundreds of motorcycles turning into the narrow road, engines humming like a living ocean of steel and power, headlights washing the darkness away. They slowed, organized, and formed a respectful circle around her home. The leader stepped forward, but there were no words, no heroic speeches, only actions that spoke louder than anything else. Bags of groceries, boxes of clothes, blankets, school supplies, and envelopes were carefully carried forward and placed near her door. Some had tears in their eyes, as if they were honoring something sacred. A passerby explained, almost in disbelief, that earlier that afternoon someone had taken a photo of Aisha giving away her only meal and posted it online with a simple message: "This girl chose others over herself." The image traveled faster than she could have ever walked, reaching a biker community known for helping people in need. And within hours, nearly 500 of them gathered, each determined to show that kindness deserved to be answered with kindness. Aisha stood frozen, overwhelmed, unable to process the sudden flood of generosity. The neighbors who once overlooked her now watched in awe. The rumbling night transformed into something luminous, something unforgettable. She felt the heaviness of hunger replaced with the warmth of tears streaming down her face. The bikers didn't stay long. They came, they gave, they nodded, and they disappeared back into the night like guardians returning to the wind, leaving behind a street forever changed. What they left was not just food or money. They left dignity. They left proof that invisible acts can become powerful stories when hearts choose to see. Over the next days, her life began to shift. The donations helped her aunt pay the rent. Food filled the shelves for the first time in months, and offers came for Aisha to continue her education. People visited not to pity her, but to learn from her. She understood something profound. The world may sometimes feel cruel, but there are hidden hands ready to lift others when one small spark of goodness appears. Her choice, born out of hunger and compassion, had turned into a wave of hope spreading far beyond their street. It didn't solve every problem, and life did not suddenly become perfect, but it gave her strength to keep going, and a vision of what generosity could do when it travels from one heart to another. As you're listening to this story, if even a small part of it touched you, if it reminded you that kindness can echo in extraordinary ways, please support this video, like it, share it with others, and subscribe so more people can witness how small acts can change entire lives. Before we end, I have one special request. Comment below with what kindness means to you, or share a moment when someone's compassion changed your day. In the quiet after the engines faded and life returned to its normal rhythm, Aisha would sometimes stand outside at dusk and remember that single decision, to choose someone else's hunger over her own. She realized that true strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply gives, and somewhere on another street in another city, perhaps someone else would see her story and find the courage to act with the same quiet bravery. And in that invisible chain of goodness, the world, little by little, becomes a softer place,